hello, and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show, where we investigate all forms of magic. We talk about all kinds of things that are relevant in the occult community today. Talk about the cool book I wrote called Apex Unhinged. You should just Google it. We talk about the cool music I've been making with Suno and posting on this channel. And we talk about all kinds of relevant topics. And today I wanted to talk about something near and dear to my blackened heart, and that's heavy metal. And talking about how heavy metal and magic are really inseparable. Now, there's all kinds of dunderheads out there who just gravitate the loud, harsh noise, and they just go with it. You know, like these big meathead dudes who show up swinging elbows in the pit, kicking people because they think moshing into people is supposed to be like beating people up. They don't understand, like, it's about brotherhood and unity. And the entire heavy metal culture is a unified culture in many aspects, such as when you think of the Celtic Empire, it was only an empire because it had the same culture. And the heavy metal underground is a culture just like the Celtic world, where it's composed of tribes. Different tribes of people, and there'll be multiple tribes in every single city, different people, but we all unite, right? And reunite around the ritual, because it is very much a ritual when you have a band performing live in the sort of way that you do at different halls and such, different stadiums, whatever. It's all a very ritualized thing, and magic and heavy metal go hand in hand because heavy metal is a art form where studying these topics and exploring them is popular, and it's part of the vernacular as far as the lyrics are concerned. Some bands kind of have an inkling of what's going on. Some are smarter and smarter. There's a lot of personalities. And the thing is, the general drift of heavy metal, the unfortunate problematic thing about it, but also why it's important at the same time, is that it gravitates towards seeking the dark. And the problem with this is that it negates that the light is just as terrifying as the dark, and you need to intermingle. And, the things, since it's so fanatically positioned towards dark topics, heavy subjects, etc., It's a magnetizing thing that brings in all kinds of dark perceptions, or people that want to fuck around with dark magic, baneful magic, all this sort of stuff. So, understand that the person speaking these words is a lifelong heavy metal fan. I was always involved. I used to write for webzines. I played in a number of bands. I've been around. I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bands play live. None of this is foreign to me, and I am not chastising it in any matter. The point of what I'm saying is that me as an individual, I was obsessed with music, and specifically heavy metal scene. I was more obsessed than anything. And then when I was about 35, I just woke up one day and I didn't care if I heard another song ever again. I wanted to listen to the sounds of nature. I wanted to hear crickets, coyotes, foxes. I wanted to hear owls hooting, And I wanted to give a hoot and not to pollute. And this whole intense process overtook me. The thing is, I needed that magnetism towards dark magic and all this dark stuff in order to fully get my fill of it, in order to move on from it. And heavy metal was ultimately a springboard for me, because the problem is, at this stage in the game of what I have evolved into, I can't go back to it. I mean, I could stand there and try to have conversations, but I don't believe anybody's going to completely understand what I'm saying, just because the obsession with dark aspects of magic is so fucking heavy in that crowd. Now, I wanted to also be clear that some of the strongest and smartest people I've ever known have all been obsessed with metal. And this is because heavy metal speaks to a certain kind of soul, you could say. A certain kind of energy. And it quite frankly, people that heavy metal doesn't speak to, I don't quite understand. I can understand things that appeal to them, but at a base layer in their being, heavy metal is the music of explorers and conquerors and people who are extremely not necessarily aggressive in a bad way, but they get shit done, and it's a community, there's so much to it. But as we're saying in a general sense, about being attracted to the dark aspects of psychology, magic, whatever it is, the stories about whatever have you, any dark fascinations throughout humans' history. As I was describing, like, I needed it as a springboard. It's like a sense to where, like, it goes so heavy on the dark topics that it becomes like overkill within the self, to the point where your spirit is automatically gonna reach out for something else. It's like a different sort of balance. So heavy metal is like moss to a light, moss to a light bulb. Now, the important things I want to say here, what I wanted to bring up specifically, is that when you do see bands, okay, so the upside down pentagram is all over the place in heavy metal. It's become like the unofficial symbol. And the same way that, like, Iron Maiden has Eddie as a mascot, heavy metal in general has the figure of Satan as a mascot as well. And most people just see it as a cartoon figure and not anything to be taken too serious, or they think it's representative of dark psychology. They don't think an actual Satan exists. There are people who do. They're called theistic Satanists, and they have their own idea about that. And of course, there's Christians who worship the devil, their idea of the Christian devil, and they're just Christians who switched governments. They couldn't figure out to escape the paradigm. You know what I mean? So, heavy metal is crucial because in order to understand yourself, you do have to approach all these heavy, dark topics. And I don't think that I'm not saying to, become aware of them, learn about them, educate yourself, experience aspects, experience certain things. But, there's a cutoff point where true inhumanity flourishes, true cruelty. And the question is, how far are you willing to go? How far do you want to go? Where do these ideas pop off to you? And it's hard to ignore that Satanism is such a heavy thread in heavy metal because, people are rebelling against the concepts, all these concepts that they had shoved down their throat. And, of course, they're moving on to new territory. And they're using this as a vehicle to explore so many different things. Now, it is also sad that there's so many people who look at heavy metal in general as some kind of lowbrow thing because they don't understand it. Like people who are really into jazz looking down on heavy metal, they don't understand death metal drumming is jazz drumming. The most insane jazz drumming they could ever understand. People who listen to classical music and they don't somehow hear Wagner in the music of heavy metal. They don't understand all the genres, all the different things. But we do. That's why I don't have to explain myself very much. My whole point is that when we get beyond the dark and you start learning the light and you intermingle and you become more, there's different shades of magic. Sometimes people say green magic, more classic witchy witch. There's a little bit of that sentiment, but it's never been well enough orchestrated. What I'm trying to say is the counter propaganda within heavy metal itself has never been favorably strong enough or well enough structured or as well put together as the people who were pushing the dark satanic stuff or the qliphothic stuff or the, just the darker realms in general. Because when you do, people talk about magic a lot in a lot of vague senses, because a lot of times I feel people are half educated. They talk a good game about books they half read and half understood. People name drop a lot of things. They kind of go around the edges of stuff, but do they really have a cohesive worldview? A lot of shit gets thrown out there in heavy metal, And one of the groups that really do have their shit together, I would say, I'm just saying a general group of people. See, the black metal crowd, right? They're the ones that are going to get deeper into these occult topics than anyone else. But the thing is, more often than not, they're a ton of obscure references to the qliphoth, right? And that's its own discussion as well. But it's where are the true like pagan metal bands? And I'm not just talking about like these dudes who dress like Vikings and have Viking songs and they come out of Sweden or Norway or fucking Denmark or wherever. I mean, that's fine. That's all cool. That's all fine and dandy. But I feel like that's like Renaissance festival metal. I want true fucking witchcraft. You know, it's you know, the witch house scene with electronic music has completely absorbed this aesthetic. Well, how come the metal scene really hasn't? I mean, I've been seeing stuff like it's all been black metal related, tied to all this Germanic or Norse paganism stuff, and none of that I don't even care about. Like that's all just like dress up to me. You know, like what are we really pushing? What are the we live by the old ways and this and this. What are the fucking old ways? What are you doing except fucking wearing costumes and drinking mead and fucking going to little festivals every once in a while in the summer where you kind of just hang out. You're like, oh, I was a blacksmith. Here, I made this chainmail. That's all fine and dandy, dude. I'm not talking shit on it. I'm just saying, like, where's the magic power? What are you really after? And when I ask this kind of stuff to people, they're like, oh, look at the runes. Well, fucking, the runes are child's play, bro. And for the runes to make sense, you basically have to be a Viking because you have to have that worldview and have to completely understand the deep subtext of what they're talking about. And it's all this mythological shit that's combined in it. They're just, you know, it's like a child's play version of the Hebrew letters. That's why you should learn the Hebrew letters. And people will never learn the Hebrew letters when it comes to metal because they look at that and they think it's God stuff. They don't understand. They don't understand. So the question is, like, number one, how do we successfully get rolling the ball of bands who are talking a great game as far as different kinds of magic are concerned that isn't just like this one-sided obsession with Satanism or dark occultism or fucking misrepresenting Baphomet or any of the hokey-pokey fucking Satanist shit that's going on. Because I feel like, you know, again, Satan is a symbol that, again, I adore in my own way, but ultimately I think is detrimental and we should just be, like, getting rid of and moving on from. Because, you know, the more they fight you, the more you win. And the more and more and more you use the Satan glyph or the hieroglyph or the picture or the concept, whatever, the Christians will always win so long as you use this symbol. They will always maintain their power if they have a finger to point at, and you just play into it, and you feed it, and you feed it, and you feed it, and you feed it, and you've been feeding this shit for fucking ever. And this is what we're talking about. Heavy metal, how do we not feed into shit? What are some new avenues to explore? So we continue now with the subject of counter-propaganda. And again, what I'm talking about is where in metal, how in metal can we take control of the situation? Now, I know that I'm not the guy to do it. I think my days playing in bands is pretty much over because Doc here has back problems and I can't really tour anymore. So I'm kind of hit. I'm just beat up. But, you know, the young people out there, the people that this message might be getting through to, how can you introduce these topics even better to the crowd instead of just shouting lyrics, you know? And, you know, if I had it all to do over again and I could do it with a band, the way that I envision it is I would make 1 million flyers talking about all kinds of occult subjects and make a bunch of cool ones, like little propaganda flyers that would, like, you'd have on your merch table. Also, I highly recommend anybody who's listening out there, you know, comic books are magic too. You can get that ball rolling with it. And the thing is, at your merch table, if you sell comic books as well as merchandise, you're going to make a bunch more money as well. That's something that people aren't doing enough, that I learned later in the game and was clear to me. If you just have a box of comic books, not even comic books you made, just random comic books, you can make a fortune off the people coming to your shows. You're going to bank more on the comics than you're going to do with anything else. And especially when you go city to city, and you can stop at a comic book store and get a bunch of cool shit from the 50-cent bins and sell it $5 a pop at your show, dude, it's like the kind of money that you make like popping popcorn in a movie theater or some shit, or you get out of one of them fucking soda bags. So you should pay attention to that. So you're talking about, and then also a very, very, very important is the visual aspect. And you're talking about like some sort of video that plays with your performance or some sort of stuff like this. You need more of a showing of this sort of like witchy roots, pagan roots, what have you, however you want to showcase it. More and more and more emphasis in this when it comes to the stage show and the surroundings of the stage show. Guys, just imagine like how awesome your show could be if you started to incorporate elements. And there's one group called Heilung, Heilung. I really don't know what their whole worldview is all about. Whatever, I know they're like Europe, strange, like Scandinavian, I think. Scandinavian, possibly Germanic, weird, pagan, and they're not really metal, but they play for metal crowds. Just look up Heilung, okay? I don't really know how to describe them. But I want to see that merged more with metal more. Now, I'm sick of going to heavy metal concerts and just seeing a big upside-down pentagram with a bunch of, like, chaos art surrounding it. Like, it's been done to death, and the truth is the upside down pentagram means that the elements are in control of you because your head is in the dirt. To be powerful, it needs to be turned upside down because the pentagram is the symbol of the golden ratio, which is 1.618. That's what it is. That's the big secret. It's coming to us from ancient Greece. It's not, just fucking erase whatever you're thinking about that. Like, people who use the upside down pentagram, I understand why you're doing it. I used to draw it all over the place. I constantly used it when signing my name. I loved it to death forever and ever. But then I realized it's horse shit. You don't need it. And it fucking means the absolute reverse of what you're actually fucking declaring. Because Anton LaVey picked it up and fucking pulled it out of his ass and said that it means this. And then the bullshit that he pulled as a rabble-rouser continues to infect us to this day. So one of the things that I really hope is that any nonsense that Anton LaVey, like, it's really sad that, like, first we need to increase the literacy of what Magick is all about to the metal crowd in general. Because unfortunately, there's way too much emphasis on Dr. John D, which is all horse shit. There's too much emphasis on Aleister Crowley, that fucking ham. And there's way too much emphasis on the bullshit that Anton LaVey wrote. Absolutely. Anton LaVey is a purveyor. He's a carny, or he pretended to be a carny. Nobody even knows if that's true. Just everything about him is dubious. And he's really silly. And if you watch interviews of him in the 60s, he's got little devil horns he wears, states his fucking case. He's a showman. He's a weird, wacky, underground counterculture showman guy. Probably never thought that he would be taken so seriously or get so fucking big or be that ingrained. And it all just kind of happened. Well, counter-programming, counter-propaganda, they're the same thing. So we got to talk about, bringing that into the heavy metal fold and making that more emphasized. And one of the main things that we should be propagandizing, as I said over and over, is ninja. The ninja. You want to talk about real shadow work, you got to talk about the ninja, right? And that is a shoe-in with heavy metal because heavy metal people absolutely respect martial arts, So, yeah, and it's unfortunate that, black metal, first, there aren't many chicks at black metal gigs. And it's a lot of straight people like black metal a lot. Anyway, not enough chicks. But, the chicks they're pretty wild individuals. And anyway, so, black metal, technically great heavy metal music, it's epic, it's crazy, it cascades, it's essentially like surf music. in so many aspects. It's like the heaviest surf music transposed to something else. But again, the core of what black metal was about in the beginning was hatred, evil, cruelty, inhumanity, darkness, this and that. Every fucking dark thing you could ever think of, because it was black metal. It was pure fucking just frozen wastelands of Norway and shit and all this stuff, you know. That was the point. It's hatred, evil, darkness, everything burn. And that whole crowd is really like, you know, is really, really, really intertwined with a lot of like the pagan-minded magic, you know, this sort of stuff, all this old Viking shit, this old Saxon stuff, you know. There aren't enough Celtic black metal bands. How about more of that shit? How about black metal about the Picts, you know, or true witchcraft? Because when they more often than not, they're talking about the Qliphoth or aspects of the Qliphoth. But I'm here to tell you the Zohar is fucking fan fiction. And a Qliphoth is the most dubious fucking thing. There's no foundational work on it, okay? It's just all guesswork. Now, it technically does exist, right? When you do look at the Tree of Life and what those energies mean, Qliphoth is another outreach of that. Because if something's going to be holy, something has to be unholy about it. There has to be a reverse image to an image. So, you know, la-di-da-deedle-dee, but anyone telling you that they know anything about it, it's all guesswork, or it's copies of copies of copies from different fucking Christian writers, Catholic writers throughout the years and all that shit. And the black metal scene pumps it like fucking crazy onto whatever. So anyway, all I'm fucking trying to say is that heavy metal is fucking powerful, man. It's one of the most powerful music genres out there. One of the most powerful artistic mediums you could pick up. And it's epic, and it's a lifelong quest, and it's a wonderful thing. All I'm saying is that how do we fucking make it so that it includes more diverse opinions? How do we get away from the dark impulse and start to look at everything else? How do we evolve? Because if you're just staying on the dark side of the current, you're never able to quantify all kinds of other opportunities that exist around you. All kinds of avenues to explore. So anyway, I think I've had you long enough. This is Dr. Zeero Xiron. Thanks for stopping by the Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show. And as always, I'm going to leave you with a hot rockin' outro. This is the metal episode, so let's go with some metal. I will see you kids later.